we prevent competition from becoming a problem between multiple dogs in our home? I've always had a multiple dog home, typically have 2 dogs. I've had as many as 5. I learned I didn't want to have 5 dogs from that experience. It was just too much. It was too much to try to give them all the attention that they needed and the level of training that I wanted them to have. And it was just kind of chaos. But I do enjoy having multiple dogs. But one thing I'm very mindful of is not allowing competition between them to become an issue that can become a serious problem. Obviously, our dogs, they do compete for things like our attention, toys, food resources. It can be a number of things. And at some level, a little of that is fine. There's nothing wrong when both of your dogs come up to you and they both want to be petted or they both want you to play with them. But when it starts becoming problematic is if they're fighting over getting those pets from you. They're fighting with each other. They're fighting over food resources. They're fighting over toys. And it starts to escalate. So there's some simple things you can do from the beginning to really prevent that competition from becoming a problem. One, even if you have 2 or 3 or 4 dogs, try as best you can to give each of them individual attention. That could mean walking them separately, playing with them one at a time, and it could just be for 5 or 10 minutes. But don't make everything a competition where they're all diving to get that tennis ball, or they're all trying to sit next to you on the couch, or ride near you in the car, or whatever the situation is. We don't realize it, but that competition can build pretty quickly, and then it turns into fighting over competitive things. So I try with my own dogs. I enjoy walking my dogs separately. I don't particularly enjoy walking them at the same time. I like to relax. I don't want everything to turn into an ongoing training session once I've taught them how to walk with me on a leash. I just like to enjoy my walk and relax. I don't want everything to be ongoing training. So I walk them separately for that reason, but also it just gives me time to be alone with them one-on-one. They get out of the house, they get away from the other dog or dogs, they get all of my undivided attention. We go on adventures, we do fun things, whether I take them swimming or walking or hiking or socializing, going into town and just meeting new people. They enjoy that one-on-one time, and I enjoy that one-on-one time with them. I don't feel like we can completely get to know who our dogs are and their personalities if we have them always doing things together. Because, for example, Marshall loves to chase and retrieve. He'll retrieve things forever and ever and ever, and especially in the water. He'll just retrieve until my arm wants to fall off. Ducky, not so much of a retriever. So when I take Marshall out to play, he just wants to run and chase things, and he has a really great time. And Ducky, he just kind of wanders around and does his own thing. Ducky would rather me go out in the yard and play tug-of-war with him with a toy, or just have fun with him, just walk around the yard. He might pick up a toy and carry it, but he isn't really into doing lots of long-term retrieving. He's like, I'll get it, and maybe I'll bring it back, maybe I won't, but he's not really into it. So if I have the same expectation for both of them for play, then it's not really a lot of fun for them. And then they might start just wanting to fight over that one particular toy. Ducky wants to play tug with it, Marshall wants to chase it. There's 10 other toys in the yard, but they've decided that's the one that they want. At some level, the competition, it's okay. I let them play, I let them tug, I let them bark and chase each other around. But if it starts taking a turn for the worst, where they're just honing in on something and they both want it just because they don't want the other one to have it and it turns into fighting, then I have a problem. But by not making them compete for my attention outside, I go out and I get to have fun with each of them. And one stays in the house and one goes outside with me. And for the most part, it's always been enjoyable for both of us. The same is true inside my home. There are times, most of the time now, where both of the dogs are free in the house. Ducky isn't crated nearly as much as he was when he was younger. Marshall's pretty much free all the time. And I still have times throughout the day where I put somebody in a crate and I have somebody come out. Maybe I do training with them. Maybe I'm just brushing them or spending time with them or petting them or tossing toys around in the house for them. But they get that one-on-one attention with me or my husband or my kids if they're here, so that it isn't this constant, both dogs in my face, trying to shove the other one out of the way so that they can get all of my attention. things start out very small, but they can get really big really quick. So I try to be mindful of giving each of them one-on-one time with whichever human they want, so that they don't start developing that competitiveness around us. And that then brings me to toys in the house or food, especially food. I have been very fortunate that I have not had dogs for many, many years that have had any guarding issues or competitiveness around food. I think a lot of it can start in the litter. It depends how they're whelped and raised. They're competing over a minimal food source with a large litter. It's very stressful and can have a lot of problems for dogs as they mature. But when I get a puppy home, I want mealtime for my dogs to be enjoyable. I would not enjoy my dinner if somebody was standing over me with a fork in their hand, just drooling, wanting to steal my steak or my piece of chocolate cake. It'd be really uncomfortable. And our dogs feel the same way. If we're having them with their food bowls literally right next to each other, and you have one dog who eats really fast and one dog who doesn't, then you potentially have one dog's eating all of his food and then he's moved down to the other dog's bowl. Again, you start breeding this competitiveness over eating. So now even eating isn't fun, it's not relaxing, it's just one more stressful thing they have to do in the presence of this other dog. I always have one of my dogs eats in their crate, at least for the first year of their life. Ducky's 8 months old, he still eats all of his meals in his crate with the door closed. Marshall eats near him. I put his bowl near his crate on the floor. He eats outside of a crate, Ducky eats inside of a crate. And you'd be amazed. I mean, they're very relaxed. Ducky eats slower than Marshall does. Ducky eats a lot more food than Marshall does. But they're not scarfing their food down to eat it before the other dogs come and get it. So there's these little things that we can do to help our dogs not become competitive over things. If you have a particular toy that your dogs are really starting to fight over, then a couple things need to happen. That toy might need to just go in the garbage. If I have a toy or an object in my house that's worthy of fighting over, it's probably gonna go in the trash. Or if it's just constantly competing over it and just relentless harassment, then maybe Marshall can only have his favorite football when Ducky's taking a nap in his crate, and Ducky can only have his Mr. Honker's duck toy when Marshall's hanging out either in his crate or in my husband's den with him while he's working. Again, why let them fight it out over things when it's pretty simple to just sort of divide and conquer and say, here, you can have this while he's off doing something else, and vice versa. So competition is something that we can often kind of cut off before it becomes a problem. If it becomes a significant problem, and I'm talking about fighting or your safety, if you're getting caught in the middle of it, then you really need to be consulting with a professional that can come and help you try to figure it out. We want our dogs to enjoy their time with us, enjoy their time with each other, have fun at home, and feel relaxed at home. We don't want everything to be a constant source of stress. So for the most part, with my dogs, they get a nice balance of time with each other, time alone with the humans, and I would say on average I have very little competition between my dogs because they haven't learned that that's what they need to do to get what they want.